Hi, the point of this little introductory video that I'm asking you to watch is that before you start a session, particularly if it's your first time that you've done hypnotherapy, I would like to just explain a little bit about what hypnotherapy is, what hypnosis is, what and how the brain works and how it takes in information, and to dispel some of the kind of myths and stories around hypnosis that usually come from Hollywood movies and from books. So let me just start off with just a little bit of information about how the mind actually works. Now, our mind is broken up into a number of different sections, and one of those sections is called the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is where all of your instincts and your reflexes are held. And this is the area of your mind which controls all of your automatic movements, all the things like your breathing and your muscle movements. You don't have to think about how to do things. You just automatically, I'm moving my hands, I don't have to think about that. It's just happening anyway. And also it's an area which has a great deal of protection for you. It's the bit that protects you from danger. So for instance, if you were to automatically, if you were to accidentally put your hand on a hot plate, your hand would just snap straight off of that hot plate, and your mind will have already said that's dangerous, that's hot, you're going to get burnt, and you're snapped away in an instant and it's gone. You don't have to think about it, because by the time you've thought about it, you've already burnt yourself, of course. Yeah? And just the same when you step off a pavement sometimes and you hear from the side of a car coming and you jump back instantly. We've all done that. And again, that is your unconscious mind generating all the movement, everything you need to do to keep you out of danger, and you don't have to think about it. Also in the unconscious mind are many of our feelings. And again, feelings are a thing that we don't necessarily control very easily. And so consequently, when there's a certain event comes up, it will generate a feeling or an emotion within us. And that's, again, very difficult for us to be able to control. It's just something that comes. Now, another part is what we call the subconscious mind. And when we're born, this subconscious mind is completely empty, really. A baby is going to fill the subconscious mind with all of its beliefs, its habits and its values and all the things it knows about the world based on its experiences, based on what it hears, based on what it sees, based on what it experiences. And it will build up a database of information about the world, and it will be seated in the subconscious mind. And you know that a baby, when it's up until about the time it's sort of 5 or 6, just soaks up all of that information. And the reason for that is that there's nothing in there to tell it that nothing's incorrect. It just piles in all of that information. And any of you that have got children will know that there's a very narrow gap between reality and fantasy. They see what they see and they believe it all to be true and all to be real. And if you show them the wrong kind of movie, they don't know the difference between a movie and reality, so they can become very upset. So they fill up this subconscious mind, and then later as adults, we have already some idea about how the world works. We've already established various habits, various beliefs and various values. And the subconscious mind is very resistant to change. It's very resistant to undo the things that it's learnt. The way that the subconscious mind actually works physically is that when you do something, an electrical impulse is fired off between the neurons in your brain. A little electrical current is fired, a neural pathway is formed. So when you do something, a little electrical current goes off, and then when you do the same thing again, and the same neural pathway fires off again. And as you do it time and time and time again, it forms a neural pathway which gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's how habits are formed, because eventually it becomes so strong that you don't have to think about doing it at all. It just generates the action or the feeling or the event that you're looking at. It just goes on and does it for you. So that's how habits and that's how addictions are formed as well, in exactly the same way. You continue to get used to a substance in certain circumstances, and so eventually your subconscious mind says, you know what, in this circumstance, you need that substance. So a lot of people start their day with a good strong cup of coffee. They feel they can't get going until they've had a strong cup of coffee. Of course they can get going, but it's a habit they've formed, and that habit is self-generating, and the more they do it, the stronger it gets. Now, the next part of the mind is the front. It's the conscious part, the part that you're watching this video with. And the conscious mind is basically where we are. It's what we're seeing the world through. We're hearing, we're experiencing, we're seeing things all the time. And all that new information comes into our conscious mind. And then in between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is a sort of a filter, which we call the critical factor, because it criticizes that information that's coming in. And the way it criticizes it is that it compares it with what it already believes to be true in the subconscious mind. So it takes that information and it compares it with what it knows. And if what it knows is the same, then it accepts that information, and in fact it strengthens what the subconscious mind believes. If on the other hand that information is contrary to what is in the subconscious mind, it will just reject it. It will resist the change. And it's a very good thing really that it does, because otherwise all of our beliefs and our values and our habits would change every 5 minutes. As new things come in, we would just be continually changing. We wouldn't know really where we are or what we believe or what we value. So the neural pathways that have created it are very firm, and that's where they are. The problem is, if you want to make changes, if you've got habits that you want to get rid of, if you're, regularly eating too much and you're putting on weight, if you're smoking, if you're addicted to coffee or alcohol or anything like that, it's very difficult to change those things. I'm sure you know that's why you're here today, because you've probably tried to make these changes, and it's very, very difficult. You need to be very conscious over a long period of time in order to make those changes. It's also the same for people who've got emotional concerns, who get angry for no reason. It's very difficult to get out of the habit of doing something when you get certain reactions, and you just, people who sometimes just get, angry or get tearful or get unhappy at various events, and they can't control it and they don't know why. These are things that they've developed and they've learned over many, many years. So what we do with the hypnosis is we effectively take the conscious mind and we relax it. We just take you into a really deep state of relaxation, and what that does is it sort of slightly takes your conscious mind and just parks it to one side. Now, it's not sleep. Sleep is something completely different. It's a completely different state of consciousness. In sleep, as you know, you aren't aware that you can hear anything. You can talk in your sleep, but it's a kind of babble based on what you might be dreaming. And generally, you can't see anything because you get your eyes closed. And even if you do, sometimes like I sleep with my eyes open sometimes. I'm not aware of seeing anything. So sleep is a really sort of deep state where your conscious mind has really completely gone and it's not aware of what's going on around the world. Hypnosis is not like that. In hypnosis, your conscious mind is fully awake. So you can hear everything that's being said. If you open your eyes, you can see, and you can experience everything that's happening. But it's just set slightly in the background, and this allows, as a hypnotherapist, us to talk directly to your subconscious mind without that critical factor getting in the way and constantly saying, is this right, is this not right, is this right, is this not right? And what that allows us to do is to start to make positive suggestions in line with what you want to achieve. So, for instance, somebody coming to break a bad habit, they find that very difficult. What we're able to do is to make positive suggestions in line with the new habit that they would like to form. So we will start talking to them and developing patterns of behaviour that are in line with not smoking, for instance, or not overeating, or not drinking, or whatever that particular issue is. And the same again in terms of emotions and feelings. If you've got inappropriate reactions, we can start to build different neural pathways that will create a new habit. And what happens over time is that as you practice that new habit, the old neural pathway starts to atrophy and die away until after a period of time the old habit is completely gone and you're now established in a new positive habit. So that's effectively what we do in hypnosis. A number of other things that people are concerned about that they might have seen or read about in books to do with hypnosis, and that is that can you get stuck in hypnosis, for instance? Well, the truth is you can't get stuck in hypnosis. The worst that could happen if I was to keel over in the middle of a session and go unconscious on the floor is that most people, because they are already deeply relaxed, without the stimulus of hearing me speak, will probably just go to sleep. And eventually, once they've had a sleep, they'll wake up. Some other people may just wake up. If they don't hear me talking, they'll wonder what's happening and they'll just open their eyes and look around and find me on the floor. So you cannot possibly get stuck in a state of hypnosis. That is Hollywood and novels. It's nothing to do with reality. Hypnosis is in fact quite a normal event, and in fact it happens to us all the time, but we don't really see it as such. We don't really realise. But I'll give you a couple of examples of what I mean. Those of you that drive cars might experience something when you're going down on a regular route that you might drive every single day, maybe on the way to work, and maybe you're talking to a friend in the car or listening to the radio, and then you suddenly realise that what happened for the last 5 miles? I didn't have any idea about what happened there. And it's quite worrying because you think, God, I wasn't paying attention, something could have happened. But in fact, when you're in and doing something which is quite regular, and you don't have to think too much about it, your conscious mind can in fact just slightly switch off. But of course you're still protected because your subconscious mind is what's doing all of the actions for you. And if something happened, if somebody cut you up or something happened or you needed to break, you would find that and it would just happen. You'd snap straight back into consciousness and there, you would deal with the issue. So that is a form of hypnosis. It's a light hypnotic trance. And you know that also sometimes in hypnosis we can deal with people and their pain. And we can also get people to forget things that they may not want to remember. So you probably have this particular experience as well. I know I do. I might be searching for something I need, like my car keys or my house keys or something. And I'm going around and I'm saying to my wife, I can't find my keys, I can't find my house keys, I can't find, they were here yesterday and I don't know where they are. I put them on here, I'm sure I put them on here. And she'll say, they're on the dresser. And I'll go in and I'll look on the dresser and I'll say, no, I can't find them, I can't find them. And she will come in eventually and she'll put her finger, her magic finger, and she will then point to them like that. And just before she touches them, poof, they will appear like magic right in front of me. That is a form of hypnosis because hypnosis is about suggestion. And if you say to yourself, I can't do something, I can't do something, I can't do something, you are conditioning your mind temporarily to believe that you can't. So when I say I can't find my keys, I genuinely can't find my keys because I can't see them. I might even be saying I can't see my keys, which is even worse because then I can't see them. So these things and many other examples are naturally occurring states of light hypnosis. So when we do hypnosis with someone, we're not doing something abnormal or magic. It's just completely normal, except that we are doing it intentionally with a very positive outcome in mind. Now, if you have any other questions or any other concerns about hypnosis, when we go in and we have a little chat personally before we start the session, then please bring them up and we can discuss those before we start. The idea really of hypnosis is that you come to it feeling as comfortable as you can, and if it's your first time, I realise that isn't always the case, but we like to try and prepare you to be as comfortable and as relaxed as you possibly can. Hypnosis is it's a process rather like a dance, I think sometimes. You know, if you go to a dance, and if I was to ask a lady to dance, first of all she would have to say yes, she'd have to agree, and then secondly she would have to take part. In other words, she would have to follow as I led. If she didn't and she just stood there, I'd be making dancing movements and she'd be standing stock still. That wouldn't be dancing, would it? It needs two people to tango, so therefore one has to lead and one has to follow, and that's how dancing works. Hypnosis is exactly the same. It needs the willingness of you to follow what I'm saying. If your mind is elsewhere and you're drifting off and you're thinking about something else or thinking about, am I being hypnotized here? I'm not too sure. That means that you are not listening to what I'm saying, because in fact you can only have one thought in your mind at one time. So if you're thinking about something else, you're not thinking about me and what I'm talking to you about in hypnosis. And I will deal with that at the very early stages as we start to get you relaxed. So it's important to understand that I need your compliance, if you like, and I can't make you do something that you don't want to do. A lot of people believe that hypnotists in some way can control your mind. They can't control your mind. All they can do is suggest things. And if those suggestions are not in line with what you truly want, then they will not be accepted. Your automatic protection mechanisms will stop you. So if I told you to put your hand on a hot plate, you wouldn't do it, because your unconscious mind would just say, no, that's not good, and you would snap straight out of hypnosis. So there's no concerns about being made to do things that you don't want to do. I'll be working on the things that you're here, that you want to make positive changes on, and if we work and we dance well together, it'll be very, very successful for you. So I look forward to seeing you in session.